Hi everybody, it's Kelly from Let's Get Clacking, and in today's video we're going to be going over making leather earrings and applying foil onto the earrings using the foil quill. To my left I have two different types of leather. We have genuine leather, which is generally an offcut, and we also have essentially pleather, so it's like a polyurethane leather or a fake leather. This comes in many different colors. Here we have a nice bronzy type color. It's got a beautiful shine in the light, which I'm not sure it'll actually pick up on the camera. And we also have some blue, which is a lot more plasticky, so it's not one of my favorites to use. We also have red, black, white, and another more natural kind of brown color. I'm going to show you how to do this using your normal auto blade. So you won't need a deep cut blade for this, but you will also need some transfer tape, your foil quill, obviously some foil, and then some findings once we're done to create the actual earring. Well, let's get clacking. In Silhouette Studio, we just start with a basic shape. So we're going to let's use this little flowery type shape because it's quite cute. Then I want to change the number of petals to 5. I'm going to select that tool again. And I want to make sure that it's the right size. So I'm just going to reduce it to around there. Okay, so I'm going to make 2 of them, not put them too close together. And then I'm going to duplicate those again, but I'm going to flip these then horizontally because I want these to go at the back. So I'm going to move these slightly lower down. Now we've got our basic shapes that we're going to use for our earrings. We can even put a circle in the top here for where you're going to add your jump rings. I don't like doing that because I have a leather hole punch, so I prefer just punching the holes once everything's aligned because it's a little bit easier for me to do. So that's one way. If you don't have a leather hole punch, you can cut the hole in the leather, but you don't have to. Alright, so we've got 13 centimeters. Let's just put this as 15 centimeters on the mat, and then we will check our cut settings. So once I've checked the cut settings, I'm going to load everything onto the mat and then send it through. I already have cut settings for my leather at a blade depth of 10, a speed of 1, that's very important, and a force of 33. Now the passes I've had done as well as 3 passes just to make sure that it cuts through, because sometimes it doesn't always cut through. Now, bearing in mind that when you're using leather, you're potentially dulling your blade quite a bit. So if you're using a lot of leather, you might want to have a special blade just for this. I wouldn't use a blade that you're maybe using for paper or vinyl. If you're doing a lot of very intricate cuts, I would have a different blade for that, perhaps a premium blade as opposed to an auto blade. You can leave the overcut off. It won't need it because it's not a very intricate cut. As you've seen, I've chosen a shape that's not very intricate because the more intricate you go with the leather, the more detail you end up losing. So you want to go with a design that's not crazy sharp corners and very, very intricate. Like, basic shapes are great just for the outline of the leather. When it comes to adding on the detail with the foil, that's where we can go in more detail. We can add prettier things on there as well. Okay, so now that I've checked those cut settings, I'm going to load everything onto my mat and then we'll get started on cutting. Alright, so first we take our transfer tape, and I need to make sure that I cut a big enough piece for what we need to do. Then we place our transfer tape on our cutting mat. I'm going to use the bottom section, and you will see why. So now we cut our leather. What we're going to do is we're going to avoid this block and we're going to avoid that block. And I'm going to move the design in Silhouette Studio so that we cut here and not right on the edge. And you will see why when we get to step 2. So I'm going to load this into the Silhouette and then we will get cutting. always, we check the cut settings. So let's just take a closer look. Okay, those look to have cut beautifully. Now, I'm not going to take this out of the mat because what I want to do is I want to use this for the foil next. So we're going to take the leather off and leave the cuts, the shapes behind. So they are exactly where they are in Silhouette Studio. Now we take a color of foil that we decide to use, and I find what works really nicely with the black leather is a rose gold kind of foil. So I'm going to use the rose gold that was given in the foil quill. So let's take this one out. And I'm obviously going to use the medium foil quill. So we can see that this is wide enough to cover. Now I just need to make sure that I have a long enough piece to cover all of the designs. Cut that off camera. And then we place it over the designs on the transfer tape. Actually going to put this underneath just to raise it up a bit so that I can press the foil down onto the transfer tape. That should be good enough. I'm going to go quite slowly with the foil quill, so we shouldn't have to worry about that too much. There might be some movement of the paper because it is quite loose. But when it comes to this kind of thing, there's little that you can actually do about it. Back to Silhouette Studio, we can go back to our design panel after we've moved our design, and we can put something fun on these designs. So what I think I'm going to do, first of all, I'm going to take this away just so it's easier to work with. I'm going to put an internal offset like we did with our Christmas tags. Again, the link will be in the description. And in the info cards. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. So let's go 0.3, and then we can put something else on the inside.
One eternity later.
Alright, so I finally found a design that I like. It's the heart dingbat font, right? And it's the letter O. Okay, so I'm going to take this and put it in here. Zoom that in, and then I'm going to make it bigger, that it fits into the design. I'm going to tilt it a little bit because it looks like it's a little bit off center at the bottom, and then we center it a little bit more in the design. Even make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so let's put that in the bottom design. Let's hope this is not going to be too intricate. When it comes to designs like this, sometimes they get a little bit if you go too hectic. It looks to be alright though. Now we go to the send panel. Obviously you see that everything's going to be cut, so what we do is we just take the outside panel, the outside design that we cut earlier, and we're going to put that on no cut. So we just have the inside being drawn. I'm going to plug in my foil quill salon so that while that's warming up, let's start with the setup of the foil quill. Okay, so it doesn't really matter what material, as long as we can choose the sketch option. So I'm going to lower the speed significantly. I'm also going to lower the force significantly because we don't want it to go through the paper. So let's see how this works. Speed of 3, force of 8, 1 pass. I mean, maybe you can even up the speed to 4. That should be fine. And I just noticed that this one is incorrect, so let's go no sketch, and let's go sketch on that one, because we obviously want the inside to be done, not the outside. Just double checking all the designs to make sure that they're okay. That one looks like it needs to be tilted a little bit. Okay, those all look good. Let's send it to foil. Looks like it's done beautifully. So I'm going to just take the foil quill out This comes with a foil quill as well. You can use it to go underneath the foil quill, but I don't need it now, so I'm just going to unplug it. Because we've done all the cut work and everything, we don't need to worry about checking this before we take this off. We can, I suppose, just lift it up. You can see that it has worked, so let's unload it. Okay, so here we have our earrings. Let's do the big reveal. Beautiful. So now we can take them off because we don't need them on the mat anymore. Okay, so now you can obviously see how much essentially damage that would have caused to our mat had we done this on our mat. Because we did it on transfer paper, our mat is still perfect and completely usable. So little tips like this when you're working with these kinds of materials is, you know, pivotal to saving your mat. So now what we do with these, you can see how it looks a little bit interesting in the middle with all of that, but the hearts look pretty and the outline looks nice. That one looked a little bit better, so maybe this one was just, the blade was a bit too hot or something like that. So I'm actually just going to run this through the Xyron quickly so that I can stick them together, and then I'll punch the hole. Just in case you don't know, the Xyron is a little machine that makes essentially stickers out of whatever you run through it. It is fantastic. And then you just bundle this up, you pull off the excess sticker residue that's stuck on the outside. So now that's completely sticky on that side. So I'm going to take, we only need stickiness on one side, so I'm going to take the stickiness from the one side, that's the top, and that's the top, and I'm then going to stick it back onto one of these. So now we have a double-sided earring. Let me do the same for this one. There we go. So now we have a pair of double-sided earrings, and then we're going to just punch the hole in the top. I'm going to use some elbow grease sometimes with this. So now all you need to do is get yourself some jump rings, put your jump rings on there, and then get your earring hooks, and you will have a pair of earrings, custom earrings. Obviously you can, you know, play with the force a little bit. You can see it's kind of not worked. I think that was also because it was a bit loose. So maybe just make sure that it's a little bit tighter. And what you can do is then maybe just increase the force a little bit. Well, thanks very much for watching, everybody. I hope that you enjoyed the video, and I hope that you enjoyed learning how to make some earrings with foil and leather. This leather I got from a shop in Cape Town called Woodheads. They sell a lot of off-cut leather pieces, lots of different colors and things like that, because obviously they don't like to waste as much as I do, which is fantastic. Or you can buy bigger pieces of leather, solid pieces of leather from them as well. I'll leave their contact information down below. This is not a sponsored video, they just give really good service, so I'd like to recognize that. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more crafty videos in the future, please subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it, as it helps me to bring you more videos in the future, and it helps YouTube show you more videos that you might like. You can subscribe to my channel on this side. On this side is my latest video, and just below it, YouTube will show you something that they think that you'll enjoy. Be kind to someone today. Well, until next time, cheerio!